Now at 4, a busy day at the State House. We're there live with a breakdown of two of the biggest issues from today, the budget and reproductive rights.
And it's all about the temperatures in our forecast. We're currently sitting at teens and 20s, but the cold will be wrapping up over the next 24 hours as we're headed for a warm-up.
Plus, new details on rapid transit, the Blue Line timeline, and why Indigo is asking for your help. A guest will join us live here in studio to talk all about it. Live from Indy, you're watching 13 News.
Good afternoon. Glad you're with us here at 4 o'clock. I'm Dustin Grove.
And I'm Felicia Lawrence, and this is a big day at the State House with some major decisions on how lawmakers want to spend your tax dollars.
And the abortion debate also front and center today. That's where we start. Our State House reporter Emily Longnecker was at a rally for reproductive health and access. And Emily, some big names were there.
Yeah, certainly, Dustin, Felicia. Planned Parenthood, the ACLU of Indiana, some lawmakers, and even some doctors, including Dr. Caitlin Bernard. You'll remember she's the Indiana doctor who was disciplined by the state's licensing board for talking about the abortion she provided to a 10-year-old from Ohio who'd been a victim of rape. Even though there's a near total abortion ban now in Indiana, there are still some exceptions, like if the mother's health is in danger, a fetal anomaly is discovered and the baby won't survive after birth, or in the case of rape or incest, but only up to 12 weeks of pregnancy. Bernard said there's still a lot of confusion surrounding the current abortion law, even for doctors.
Absolutely. I get calls every single day. You know, this patient broke her water, she's cramping, she's bleeding. Can I provide necessary medical care for her, or is that an abortion and I'm going to go to jail? Physicians do not understand the law, and I cannot emphasize enough how dangerous that is for women's lives.
And this rally was just part of what these visitors planned here today. Many spent the afternoon talking to their representatives about the issues surrounding women's reproductive health. Dustin, Felicia.
And Emily, there was another headline today on that issue. A local judge temporarily blocked the state health department from releasing abortion records, right? Specifically terminated pregnancy reports.
And Governor Braun had ordered those records to be released. Did anybody talk about that today?
Yeah, a lot of folks were talking about that. Felicia, as you said, Governor Braun recently signed that executive order ordering and requiring that those individual terminated pregnancy reports be released from the Indiana Department of Health. Those are reports doctors must fill out when they perform an abortion. When abortion was legal, the Department of Health would release individual reports as public record, of course, without any identifying information included in them. All that information was blacked out. You could still see the doctor's name, though. When the near abortion ban went into effect, the Department of Health stopped releasing those individual reports. They argued with so few abortions happening now, it might be easier to identify who had the abortions in those reports, thus violating patient privacy. Just a few weeks ago, Governor Braun ordered the Department of Health to release individual reports. That led to two doctors suing to stop that. One of those doctors was Dr. Caitlin Bernard. And again, as you said, just yesterday, a Marion County judge ordered a 10-day stay on those reports being released. A lot of folks here today at this rally happy about that, but saying that they believe the fight is not over on this. Dustin, Felicia.
Back and forth it goes.
All right, Emily Longnecker reporting live at the State House. Thank you so much.
Also at the State House today, major moves on the new 2-year state budget. Here it is, almost 150 pages, $46 billion. House lawmakers approved their version along party lines this morning. Here's a quick look at the highlights. It includes a 5% spending cut for almost every state agency. It would expand school vouchers to all Hoosiers. K-12 education would see a 2% yearly increase in funding. And there are some income tax cuts, too. The tax rate would drop over the next 2 years, and the income tax deduction would double for low-income seniors. Now, Democrats are criticizing this budget. Every one of them voted against it today. They wanted to see bigger bumps for public education. They also wanted to see something done about people on wait lists for Medicaid services. The bill now heads to the Senate. There was about a half an hour of back and forth debate on this, and you're going to hear some of that here on 13 News coming up at 5.
All right, big story there, also big story here. Breaking news just into our newsroom as Lawrence police have released the body cam footage of an incident in the parking lot of the Walmart on Pendleton Pike.
This after video on social media shows a Lawrence police officer hitting a man. This is video shared with 13 News. It appears to show a man being held down while an officer hits him. The Lawrence Police Department says this started with a man who was being aggressive toward police and then hit two officers.
According to the court documents, as the man was being arrested, he threatened to shoot the officers. Officers found an AR-style rifle in the backseat of the man's vehicle. Now we're digging through the body cam footage just released. Rich Nye will have much more on this on 13 News at 5.
Also this afternoon overseas, critical talks between a top U.S. official and the president of Ukraine. Tensions have been high after President Trump called Volodymyr Zelensky a dictator. Trump also overstated by almost $200 billion how much the U.S. has spent supporting Ukraine in its war with Russia. As Richard Engel reports, Mr. Trump's comments have Ukrainians increasingly concerned about U.S. support.
President Trump now describes Ukraine's president as a con man who is fleecing the United States in billions of U.S. aid and as a dictator who rules without elections. But for this country, this is far more than just a war of words. Ukraine depends on the United States for support to stop Russian attacks and to defend the population, to defend cities like this one, which are often attacked by Russian troops. In fact, here in the city of Kharkiv, there was a Russian attack not far from here just overnight in which at least 2 Ukrainian civilians were killed, according to local officials. President Trump says he believes that Russia will negotiate in good faith an end to this conflict here, but Ukrainians are not convinced about his motivations, the motivations of Vladimir Putin. They are feeling abandoned by the United States at a very sensitive time for them while Russia is continuing to attack. Ukrainians are watching what President Trump is saying, what President Trump is saying about President Zelensky, what Trump is saying about Russia and Putin, and the fact that these negotiations started with talks with the Russian side. It all makes the Ukrainians very nervous that they are being abandoned by President Trump and that the United States is turning their backs on them.
All right, that's Richard Engel from Ukraine. And big news from Senator Mitch McConnell today announcing he will retire when his current term ends in January of 2027. This will be the end of an era. He has served for more than 40 years, worked his way up the ranks, and is currently the longest serving Senate party leader in U.S. history. He said he is grateful for the chance to serve.
So the only appropriate thing to take away today, apart from a healthy dose of pride, is my immense gratitude for the opportunity to take part in the consequential business of the Senate and the nation.
And he chose the announcement today for a reason. This also happens to be McConnell's 83rd birthday.
And we, of course, are following these cold, frigid temperatures. But look at this sight here. This is something we quite haven't seen the last few days.
We'll take it.
It's nice.
The sun. That's what's different here.
Yeah. That'll put a smile on our face, especially after another terrible commute this morning.
Yeah, a rough, with the winter weather and the cold temperatures. And last week I was worried that maybe we wouldn't see a warm up until March, but it looks like things have changed a bit. Now we see the midst of a warm up underway. It's going to start tomorrow.
Okay.
So we get 20s and then 30s.
Yes.
And then 40s.
Yes.
Keep going, keep going.
50s?
Go,
Do I hear
go,
50s?
Go,
I'll take 50s.
Sold to the gentleman at the desk. Yeah, we do see 50s, just barely in our forecast for next week. But at least over the next 24 hours, we're going to start to see that warm up unfold. Now, having said that, it's going to be cold tonight. Temperatures are currently in the teens and 20s. We've got 25 for Lafayette. It's 19 in Indy. There is a very little bit of a wind chill here. It still feels like it's into the single digits, but the winds are expected to calm down for tonight. So I don't think the wind chill is going to be as much of a factor. Even though the temperature will continue dropping, the wind chill is likely going to hold in the single digits or right around 0 by the overnight, just because the winds are likely going to be going down to calm or to very light. So with a low temperature of around 5, I think our wind chill will be around 0 for early morning. And then tomorrow the warm-up will begin. We start out cold. Now tomorrow is still a cold day, colder than average, but expecting mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies. High temperatures in the upper 20s, and that will be just the beginning of temperatures that are going to warm up. I'll show you when we will get to those 50-degree temperatures coming up.